This is, of course, so it's your third Conjuringverse movie, your second Conjuringverse sequel. I want to know what the most important lessons that you learned on Devil Made Me Do It were that you carried forward into the Nun II.
What I loved about La Llorona was I loved working with kids, and I think kids are so successful in scary movies. I think that you get sucked into a movie, kids are so vulnerable. We've all been kids. It's a perspective we can all connect to. And I think that was one thing in Conjuring 3 that, I'm very happy with our opening where the exorcism of David Glatzel. I think that's something that grabs everybody and it's horrific. And you see this young kid kind of twisting around. But then, true to their investigation and their story, that was the end of that chapter. And the rest of the movie doesn't have kids in it. And it was something that, even though it's a very fun, twisting story, and I'm proud of that movie, it was something coming out of it. I was like, I feel like I would love to like do another horror movie that's just filled with kids. And when this came up, it wasn't even really a boarding school in the first draft, but I'm a big fan of Diabolique. It's this like old French horror movie, and it's set in this boarding school in France in the 50s. And I was like, we should just do it like Diabolique. We should just kind of like find an old boarding school. And there's even like a couple like Diabolique references within the movie beyond that. But that was the big lesson going into this. And I just thought like, just having kids in it, it's like, it feels more like Conjuring DNA. Like that's something that I think Corn did a great job in the first movie. It's the thing that I miss the most is just, I miss having that family aspect to it. Cause I think that, you need to have innocence for evil to prey on it. And that's what I wanted to bring back into this.
Another movie that I kind of got shades of, was there any Devil's Backbone on your brain when you were making this movie?
The little boy in Devil's Backbone was totally inspiration for Cedric. I love the idea of, talking about kids. Of course I love having scared kids running around getting chased by demons, but also just having creepy kids. And I was thinking the different forms it could take. And then I just thought an altar boy, we've got to do an altar boy. And it's almost like a miniature nun. It's like her little minion, and just using that kind of like the altar boy imagery in there, just kind of like how the nun was used. And then the thurible and that kind of being its own language. I love Cedric. I was like, I want to just do a movie just with Cedric.
How did you aim to scare audiences in new ways with the Nun II and with Valak?
Well, I think, demons are always about trickery. And I think Valak is the Lord of Deception, Master of Deception. I mean, granted, like all demons are kind of like masters of trickery, but there's something that's unique to Valak about it. And I was just like, the idea of trickery, I was kind of pivoting off of that. And I thought, okay, she's going to use like deception and visual deception. I thought that could be cool. There's something that I loved in Conjuring, like Conjuring 2 is kind of like unique even from Conjuring 1. And I think Valak creates like a visual language that's unique from the first movie. And it was just interesting to see the evolution in that movie. And I just thought, okay, it's like with the painting and the painting coming to life and, we're kind of charting the shadow play. You could see these kind of cinematic tools being used. And I just thought, how can we do really unique visual scares that kind of continue that language and continue that conversation? And then that tied in with just shooting in France. I started doing a lot of just researching old photos and street photography. And there was this, I'm going to probably get his name wrong. I think it's René Maltet, this French photographer from the 50s. And he did all of this kind of this visual trickery. And it's like, some of it is kind of comedic, but it's like things like, there's just like, it's just like interesting contrast in elements within the frame. And I love this idea of how using visual trickery and using trickery in the environment about how the nun could manifest in just different scenes and just in the environment. And that's what we got to do. It's like a French thing. We're shooting in France. It'll become a Valak thing. Like Valak's always there. Like she's kind of always manifesting in these out of the newsstand or on the wall. And it's like the magic of that, of how your brain just starts to see pictures and
just liminal spaces becoming these weapons.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that was one of those things that I was just like, that was the idea.